Zach, do we have any oral communications?
None.
Okay. Would anyone like to make a motion to approve the minutes of the last meeting?
So move.
Great.
We won't be utilizing the voting system. Next month you'll have iPads on your counter to do that, but today you're actually just going to raise your hand. All those in favor? Motion approved, 5-0.
John, would you like to give an update on the Strategic Planning Committee?
Sure. Okay, we had a meeting earlier this week and went over where we are. We closed the survey outreach on November 29th. There were 639 surveys received. I think the last few paper ones were being data entered this week. Debbie Joy from LSNS shared a lot of the preliminary results, and as expected, we didn't get the penetration into the underserved community that we had really wanted to get, but we had anticipated that it wouldn't happen with the survey, and it did not. So addressing that, as we've been talking about basically since we started, we knew this was going to be a problem. We're addressing it with the focus groups, in that 5 of the 10 focus groups that we have are targeting the underserved community. And 4 of those 5 will be conducted in Spanish. And those 5 are being done by Education Compact, and so their help in this regard has really been key. And we have our focus group scheduled for the week of January 10th, and they're going to be at various points throughout the city. And the database of potential focus group participants that we had come up with ourselves throughout this year. Plus, we had somewhere in the neighborhood of 90 respondents on the survey that said they'd be interested in participating in a focus group. So they'll also be contacted. And due to time constraints or whatever, we may or may not, we don't know what kind of participation we're going to get out of the 90 who said they were interested. But if they are, they'll be in a focus group. So those are, as I said, scheduled for the week of January 10th, 10 groups. The first one is going to be noon on Monday the 10th, and that's going to be attended as well as the people in the focus group that were called. That one's going to be run by Debbie Joy, and the people who from Education Compact that are going to be doing their focus groups are going to attend that one so that they have an idea of how one is conducted and what to do. So, and then they'll start doing theirs that afternoon at 5 p.m. And we'll be going over the results in February. Any questions? Okay, thank you.
Okay, great. Now we will discuss the trustee checklist / handbook.
Okay, this list you see, I eliminated a couple items, but basically I took this out of an existing handbook from somewhere in the Midwest. The state of California doesn't have a handbook. Some other states do. I think we all kind of, I can't say we all agreed, but I think we were talking about last meeting whether it make any sense to have a book that no one will read, and that having an orientation checklist that each new board member would go through and would be the way to go. I'm not saying that all the things we have that I copied out of there make sense for us. So what I would propose is that everybody take a look at that. Maybe we can discuss some of the points in here and think about it, and let's add, subtract as necessary, and come up with something by the next meeting that we can put into effect. Any thoughts?
Are we just reaching out to you with our suggestions?
We more or less have to do that. And then we can share them all and decide what makes sense at the next meeting, and just, if we've got a consensus at that point, we can just move ahead. One of the thoughts I had is that in the bylaws, we can put the fact that we have a checklist and that new trustees need to be familiar with all the items on the checklist. And it might be, I think, a good idea to have one of the officers on the board be responsible for making sure that the new trustee has, had the opportunity to look at all the stuff.
So you want to codify into the bylaws the update and generation of this handbook?
Well, we can, codify it and assign someone on the existing board that would be responsible for making sure that the new trustee was at least exposed to all these.
Okay.
Any thoughts on that?
Well, John, I think that as I look at this list, I'm really pleased with most of the things that are on there. I'm particularly pleased with library organizational chart. I don't think half the time when people get on here, they even know, other than a librarian, how the organization works. So I'm really pleased with that. I think it probably should be the president's prerogative to appoint a board member to mentor and support a new board member. And I don't see why that has to be done by either the president or the secretary. They've got a lot of other things to do, but it would be very easy just to, if we write in there that the president will appoint a board member to support an incoming new board member.
That makes a lot of sense, because suppose your president and the secretary is overwhelmed with other responsibilities, is not going to get it done right, so you can go pick somebody that is going to get it done. That makes sense?
I think that's a great idea, Ron.
And of course, the Brown Act, if people haven't worked under that's critical to have that in there, and maybe we need to take a good look at how it's presented so that it makes sense to a new person.
Yeah, well, when I came in, Zach gave us a pretty thorough update on the Brown Act and what we could and couldn't do. But I'm not, can't say that 5 years from now somebody that replaces Zach is going to do the same thing. So.
Well, that we might want to say that the person in Zach's position will be given orientation. Will give orientation to a new board member, whoever would be in Zach's position, because I think that's critical. Most of the things you have on here are really good.
Like I said, I copied it out of a book, but thank you.
That's okay.
That's great.
They covered most of the.
More than I did. So we would then have the city clerk give the orientation on the Brown Act for the.
Right.
I think that's
think that's
whoever. Yeah, the city clerk would be the person, because they've got a lot of authority.
And knowledge.
So the president will assign an existing trustee as mentor, responsible for ensuring new trustee.
It might be helpful too to get something from Katie and Dara about, just like a checklist of things for the new person to do. So it would be obviously to meet with both of you, and then maybe identify take a tour of the library. So a checklist of something to complete within the first 3 months.
That sounds really good. In fact, that should be in here, that the head librarian will arrange tours, training, whatever.
Yeah.
And Katie, do you want to give me the words that you'd like to see? Not today, but just.
Yeah, I think to do a tour and orientation, just kind of like what I did with Carolyn, I think, when she first came on the board, of just a walk through, what are the departments, what are they responsible for, where is everything located? Yeah, just kind of an orientation tour, I think, is a good way to explain it.
And possibly in an introduction to the key personnel at the library.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah, and having an org chart, I'm totally with you on that, Ron, because you don't know what's going on unless you see an org chart.
I know. The other thing, and I don't know how to do this, maybe we could leave it up to the librarian, but somebody needs to explain to a new person how our arrangement with our private company works. And I don't know whether we want to put that in writing or have that done by the librarian, but it's a little bit unique. Most people think that libraries are public libraries and so forth, and we've privatized that a little bit.
Yeah, the manager of the contract is basically Joanna. In the contract, basically, it's attachment A. There's all kinds of stuff in there that we're required to do, LS&S is required to do, and the library staff is required to do. And if I would think that would be something that they should do, since they're the one managing the contract. That makes good sense.
So the person in Joanna's position,
Yeah.
The liaison between the library and the city would be the person that you're saying, and I think that's a good idea.
Yeah.
I think that's where the checklist would come in that Carolyn was talking about. So meeting with the key people and the head librarian, Joanna, city clerk, and whoever else they need to meet with. And somebody who could explain to them what the trustee does, what is the trustee's role.
Yeah, because if you don't really realize it till you get into it, Darren and Katie have two bosses. They have bosses back on the East Coast, and they have bosses here.
Right.
One gives them a paycheck, and the other one makes sure that the people that issue the paycheck have the contract. So it's interesting life.
You could also, where it says like current library policies, we can also include that copy because it is publicly available on the city website. So that could just be one of those documents they review. I mean, I think there is definitely good context to be had by discussing with Joanna.
Yeah.
But also that I would include that in the documentation for
Yeah.
them to review.
Yeah, not the base contract. That'll put you to sleep. It's
No.
attachment A.
Yeah.
That's where the execution is.
Well, I think this is really a good idea, and John, I appreciate you taking the lead because I think it will be very helpful to anybody that comes in if we get this done.
Okay, you see there, well, thank you. Do you see where I've got blanks under number of, do we want minutes, or would it make better sense just to have the actual meeting document versus the minutes don't really tell anybody much?
No, I think the meeting document would be best. The what's sent out, the agenda packet, right?
Yeah, the agenda packet. And for how many months do we want to go back?
A quarter? 3?
I think 3 would be plenty.
3, okay. And annual reports? What do you think? What makes sense? I mean, I'm torn between giving somebody enough history and loading them down with so much stuff they're not going to pay much attention to it.
Yeah, I think maybe a good idea would let the librarian explain to them that these are available. And because I'm with you, John, if this is too big, they're just going to get turned off.
Yeah. Okay, so how about I put previous year's annual report to be discussed with library staff?
Right.
But as far as the agendas, I would go more to like 6 months even than 3, because some things are handled in 3 months, some more than that.
Yeah.
I was going to suggest 12, but 6 would be fine.
Okay, well, I want to put down what everybody wants. So I hear 3, I hear 6. Anybody want to go for 12 or 1? What 4.5?
6 is good.
Okay. All right. Okay. Previous year's annual report reviewed with library staff. Okay, any other comments? Okay, I'll get to work.
Thanks, John. All right, Katie, would you like to give the director's report?
Yes. So it's kind of, I know we talked about this last time because of when the November meeting fell, but I will kind of go more in depth. The annual Dia de los Muertos program was held on November 1st, and we had 132 people attend. It was such a successful program that instead of being the 2 hours it was allotted for, it actually kind of went closer to 3 hours. We had traditional folklorico dancers, families decorated sugar skulls, and we did have a community ofrenda in the lobby, and over 80 people participated in putting up photos and mementos for their loved ones. It was a really popular program, as it is every year, and we were really excited to see everybody. The Youth Services Department is continuing to see really good turnout for their in-person programming. We did the outreach for the strategic plan at the Escondido World Market, which is the swap meet, and we had a really, really positive interactions and feedback there. And we definitely are going to be using that in the future for another outreach opportunity. The Adult Services Department had good attendance for 2 of their back-to-back programs. They had 44 attend their second Saturday concert featuring Mariachi Divinas, and 57 attending the International Games Week finale, which was also on November 13th. So our in-person programs for adults are also getting a lot more participants, which is great. And then Julia Anthony did complete the foundation's library mural. So she finished putting up the anti-graffiti paint and doing some finishing touches. And now the city of Escondido is putting in the pocket park. And so once that is complete, they will do an official ribbon cutting ceremony, and we'll do a bunch of publicity for that as well.
Will we be invited to that ribbon cutting?
Yes. And that's pretty much all I had for November. We were closed for 3 days due to the holidays, both Veterans Day and Thanksgiving. So it was a little bit of a slower month as far as like people physically in the building, but our circ numbers were pretty good for having that much, having 3 days closed. So that's all I had. Did anyone have any questions?
Have we had any new hires?
We were at a full staff capacity until a week ago, when we did have one of our longtime staff retire. We will be opening that position up. So we're in the process of getting that worked out with HR as far as getting that posted for recruitment. That is a part-time library associate in the customer service department. But we are now fully staffed. We have, in the last 3 months, we've hired a full-time librarian in adult services, Kate Colvin, and she has a lot of experience. She worked as a school librarian up in the Bay Area as well as in Texas. And we have Amy Villanueva. She is a part-timer in the adult services department, and she's working on a lot of our programs and our book club in a bag program as well. I believe we talked about it before, but Maureen Hogan is our children's librarian. She started in the summer, and she's straight out of library school from Washington State. So she's doing a wonderful job, and we are just really excited to have everybody. And, we're just kind of getting back in the groove with all of that. We also hired another part-time person in customer service. I think that was 2 months ago. Her name's Ashley Hayes. She's been a volunteer with us for several years in the Pioneer Room, so she's just jumped right in. She's doing great.
it appears the volunteers the statistics are keep going up, so they're becoming more comfortable to come back. That's a good sign.
Yes, we have like 3 or 4 volunteers specifically that are doing shelving and helping customer service, and we've been really happy to have them. And our friends of the library are also seeing an increase in interest for working in the shop, which is great because they've opened later a couple days a week, but they're really trying to open later the rest of the week because they used to be open till 4 o'clock every day. So they're just looking to fill those, I think, 2 or 3 days where they need the afternoon shift filled, but they are getting more people interested. We also do have, in case anyone's interested, we have the Kids Chess Club that's on Mondays, and we're looking for some more volunteers to assist in helping the kids with chess. And we have a few people interested, so that's going around pretty good too.
I just want to commend you for your live in-person attendance. Between September and October, you almost doubled. That's wonderful.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? No? Okay, great. Well, with that, I'm going to end this meeting. We're adjourned.